Chapter 6, text 19. Bhakti Miguel will pass out the books right now. It's on page number 328 in this version here. So I'll just repeat the word for word Sanskrit. Yata Deepaha Nivatashtaha Na Ingate Sa Upama Smrita Yoginaha Yatachitasya Yunjataha Yogam Atmanaha. Page 328, chapter 6, text 19, page 328. Yata dipo nivatashto ningate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya Yunjato yogamatmanaha Yata dipo nivatashto Ningate sopama smrita Yogino yata chittasya Yunjato yogamatmanaha Yata dipo nivatashto Ningate sopama smrita Yogino yata chittasya Yunjato yogamatmanaha Yata as Deepaha a lamp. Nivatashtaha in a place without wind. Na does not. Ingate waver. Sa upama compared to that. Smrita likened. Yoginaha of the yogi. Yata chittasya whose mind is controlled. Yunjataha constantly engaged in. Yogam meditation. Atmanaha on transcendence. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Purport. A truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in transcendence and constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. Next text.
Arjuna, need a little volume. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Arjuna, thank you, declared that to control the mind was more difficult than controlling a hurricane. And therefore he declined the practice of silent meditation, Ashtanga yoga process, because he said, it's just, I'm a worldly person, I have so many thoughts, I have family, I have relatives, I have occupation, so many things I have to be concerned about. How can I just stop my mind? and fixing on an image. So Krishna agreed, yes, it's difficult to control the mind, but it's possible by constant practice and detachment. That yoga process is possible when the circumstances are suitable. For example, in the age of Satya Yuga, it's possible to perform that type of yoga practice. But in Kali Yuga, it's not possible. But what is possible in Kali Yuga, which is the age we're living in now, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, in this age there's so much quarrel going on that there's danger at every step. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham. It's very difficult for anyone to get along with anyone else because the age is so degraded. There's so much ignorance and passion. These are types of diseases. Just like if one is living in a place that's infected with communicable diseases, everything's impure, germs everywhere, food is not clean, water is not clean, air is not clean. Imagine living in an environment like that. Then add not only the physical difficulties, then the mental, the individual psychological contaminations. So it's a very difficult situation. But if one wants to achieve the aim of human life, the aim is self-realization, the goal. Most of us don't even know what the goal is. We don't even know what we're supposed to be doing here. So therefore we end up following the path of the animals. The animals simply live their lives for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's all. You see them, they look for something to eat. If some predator or a disturbance comes for defense, they either run away or they attack. If there's some opportunity for mating, that becomes a priority. And then they go to sleep. This is their life. But the humans have a higher purpose, self-realization, to understand the spiritual nature, which animals cannot do. Sometimes I say, well, what difference does it make if I have an aim in my life or not? There's a saying, man without an aim is like a ship without a rudder. Can you imagine trying to go across the ocean in a ship with no rudder? You'll get nowhere. No aim. If you ask people what is the purpose of life, they'll say, to enjoy, to have a good time, to help people. That's nice. Those are laudable ideas, but how to do it? Bhagavad-Gita is the science of how to become happy, to live a happy life, and to help others also. This is what Bhagavad-Gita is all about. This is what Krishna consciousness is about. But if we want to get ultimate happiness, there's some background information. We have to know who we are. The animals think that they're bodies. A dog thinks of himself in that way, and therefore he barks and acts just like a dog. And there's no opportunity for him to go beyond that. But a human being or a living entity in a human body has the opportunity to transcend that misidentity. That's called an upadi, a designation, a false designation where one thinks of himself as being the body he's inhabiting. It's a type of insanity. When someone thinks, for example, he's the dress that he's wearing, or he thinks that he's the automobile that he's driving in, that's an insanity. So the whole world is based on this insanity, and it's reinforcing it in every possible way, through education, through entertainment, through family traditions, through laws, through politics. Simply reinforcing the misconception that I am this body, and the goal of life is to give pleasure to my senses, to my eyes, to my ears, to my nose, to my sense of touch, my sense of taste. And that becomes the competition. Who can have the most opportunity for gratifying their senses? But we see that those who are apparently leading in the race for sense gratification, those who have lots of money and fame, and good looks, followers, they're not happy. No one's happy. At least a self-realized person knows that nobody in the material world is happy. They may succeed in misleading their family members to think they're happy, or friends, or their followers on the internet may believe, oh, he's so happy now. She's happy. She just got a new car, she's happy now. But happiness is not available on the material platform. Real happiness. There's some happiness, but it's the happiness like the animal gets. When he's eating, he's happy. When he's mating, he's happy for the time being. But he's always in anxiety. You see the bird flies down to get some food on the ground. He's looking around anxiously if there's a cat. The cat is anxious, where's the dog? Everybody's anxious. Driving on the highway, we're trying to remain peaceful. Peaceful mind. We turn on the radio to make it a little peaceful. But we know it's danger. And what happens when death comes? No one knows. Everybody's in ignorance. And instead of making that the number one important thing in life, to understand who am I, how to transcend the miseries, the anxieties of material life, we just brush it aside and go on with our frivolous activities. We've created a worldwide civilization based on frivolity, and ignorance. We're not taking seriously these problems of life. How to overcome death, old age, disease, and rebirth. There's no way to have a peaceful mind unless we have the answers to these things. And it can't just be any answers or just because someone makes up a philosophy and writes a book. Any speculation won't solve. It has to be the real solution to these problems. And the real solution can only come from the Supreme Intelligent Person, Sri Krishna. Therefore, Bhagavad-Gita is the most essential subject, because Krishna, who's the master of everything and everyone, is explaining succinctly what the position is, who we are, how to get out of this entanglement, how to be kind to others, how to get free from anxiety, and how to reach the spiritual realm. There's another world, parastasmat ubhavonya vyakta vyaktat sanatana. There's another world, the spiritual world, where there's no atom bombs, where there's no hatred, where there's no disease, where there's no backbiting, depression. Why aren't we interested in going there? What's wrong with us? How have we become so bewildered that we don't have an interest in this? We say, well, I'll just stay here for now. I've got to go to work now. And I got to watch the show and so shallow. We have time. This human form of life is a good opportunity for solving once and for all the problems. And when we speak of once and for all, we're talking about eternality. The soul lives forever. He's always lived and he always will live. That's the nature of the soul. And that's what we are, souls. We're not these bodies that are changing at every second. How can you say you're the body, the baby's body? Now, 30 years later, where's your baby's body? It's completely distributed elsewhere. There's not even one cell the same in the body we have now. But yet I'm thinking I'm the baby's body. Now I'm the adult body. When you have an old body, you won't have any of the same cells you had when you were a young man. So how can we claim that we're these bodies? How can we be so mistaken? Well, it's easy because that's the way we were raised. And in one sense, that's a valid excuse. Until we come in contact with transcendental knowledge, and then we have to do something about it. We can say, I didn't know, and that's all right. You didn't know, no one taught you. But now you have the opportunity to know. So don't pass it up. This body is compared to a good ship. If you want to cross the ocean, you need a good ship. And the spiritual master, or the representative of Krishna, is compared to the captain. You need a good captain to cross the sea. And the Vedic literatures, such as Bhagavad-Gita, are compared to the favorable winds. So if you have these components, then you can go across the ocean of material suffering. But we shouldn't wait too long, because time goes by very quickly. And Prahlad Maharaj, great boy saint, he pointed out that generally people waste the first 20 years of their life just in childhood ignorance, playing with balls. Then they get involved with family affairs, working, maintaining family, and they have no time for self-realization. And then they become old, and it's difficult. They just remember when they were younger. And before they know it, it's time to leave the body, and they're completely bewildered. They have no idea who they are, what they're doing, where they're going, and they're afraid. They wasted their time. Ayur harati vai pungsam adyanasam chayanaso yatshina nita uttama sloka vartaya. Every day the sun rises and sets and diminishes the life of everyone except those who are engaged in remembering the personality of Godhead. This is the way to control the mind, because as we were hearing in the verse today, Lord Krishna is speaking, the mind can become steady and peaceful like a flame in a windless place when it's fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because that's the only steady thing. Krishna is eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. Everything else we meditate on is changing. So in this age, the chanting process, chanting of Hare Krishna is recommended. It's a simple process. By chanting, one fixes the mind, mantra. Man means mind, tra means to deliver. Delivers the restless mind. It's the epitome or the essence of all the Vedic knowledge. To fix the mind on Krishna, on His name, on His form, His pastimes, paraphernalia. That's the process. Continue. If there's any questions along the way, you can raise your hand and we'll discuss.
Hare Krishna. So on this point about being aimless and it being okay, this is a conception that I run across a lot when sharing Krishna consciousness, and even noticing within myself some apathy or some lack of enthusiasm for attaining the goal of life and understanding the purpose of life. So I'm just wondering, what is the root of this conception that I have time, that I don't need to find out the purpose of life, I'm okay, I'm satisfied, even though we are suffering.
Yeah, it's foolishness. As we said, foolishness can be excused up to a point, but then we have to take the responsibility for that foolishness and go on suffering. How are we going to stop this suffering? Is it going to stop simply by medical advances? Is it going to stop by United Nations having meetings, will they stop the... No, these are not the processes. Because we don't know anything about the spiritual dimension, therefore we're simply grappling in the dark. And when you're in the dark, it's very difficult to be happy because you can't take a step without being afraid you may fall down or you might step on something that's going to harm you. So, therefore, in the very beginning, a spiritual seeker is taught to find a spiritual master who opens his eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Otherwise, he's blind. Without that guidance, without that torchlight of knowledge, he's hopeless. So, we have to come to grips with the reality. I don't know what I'm doing, and none of my friends know, and my family doesn't know, and the leaders of the society don't know. Where am I going to find the answers? How am I going to get out of this situation? If one prays like that, even in his privacy of his own room, and he prays, he's not even sure if there is God, but everybody has some idea that there might be God. So one can pray, my dear Lord, if you exist, or if he's more confident, he can say, please help me. And then Krishna will help. And he'll send us, put us in the right circumstance. And then we can take the next step.
Thank you. On another point that's sort of connected, you were talking about this happiness, this material happiness. It's not real happiness. So this real happiness, it comes from the soul, the spiritual platform. So what is the difference between this material happiness that we experience and the spiritual happiness? Like, what is the difference in quality?
Well, that you have to taste. You have to... Just like if somebody tells you that honey is very sweet, it tastes very good, you have to open the jar and taste it. It's difficult to explain it. So taste it. It's not difficult, it doesn't cost anything. We just have to take that step. Take up devotional service, bhakti yoga. Take a little step, try this chanting. It doesn't hurt anything, it doesn't cost anything. And when one chants, then he'll get a little taste. Or he might get a lot of taste, depending. And then read Bhagavad-Gita. And then take Krishna Prasadam. These are all things that Krishna recommends. Associate with devotees of Krishna. Engage in some devotional service. How are the devotees living their lives? They're eating, they have families, they have their activities. How are they living? How are they... If you associate with devotees, you'll see that they're on a different platform, a different level of consciousness. They're not suffering from the anxieties that are plaguing everyone in the material world. And then if you try to associate with them and follow the instructions of Krishna, you'll see for yourself. Proof is in the pudding. Nobody will have to tell you that you're feeling happy now. It's like when you're hungry, someone says, what am I going to do? I'm so hungry. Eat. When you eat, your hunger is abated, you get nourishment, you get strength, and it's pleasurable. So devotional service is compared to that. Try devotional service. Sometimes my spiritual master, when people would ask him, he'd say, just come and try, live with us for a week and see the difference.
Text number 20 through 23. The stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain.
This is a nice answer to your question. He enjoys himself through transcendental senses. The soul has transcendental senses, and those transcendental senses are satisfied when they're engaged in serving Krishna. They're meant to serve Krishna. Right now we're using our material senses in serving our bodies. How are we going to be happy serving our bodies? We're not these bodies, they're a dead lump of matter. But when we engage our spiritual senses, that means if the eyes are engaged in serving Krishna, then they become spiritual. Actually, we already have spiritual senses, and they're covered by these material senses. But that covering can be removed when they're used in the transcendental service of Krishna. Just like, for example, if I use my hand for giving food to my ear, that's a misuse of my hand and a misuse of my ear. The hand doesn't get any pleasure, the ear doesn't get any pleasure, nor the rest of the body. It's a waste. But if the hand engages in giving food to the stomach, then the ear is satisfied, the hand is satisfied, the legs are satisfied, everything. We have to know where to give the service. Service is meant for Krishna. He's the enjoyer. We're not the enjoyers. We're all busy trying to be the enjoyer, and if somebody gets in my way, then I'm going to smash him because he's interfering with my enjoyment. But he wants to smash me. So you have a world like this. Everybody's smashing everybody in competition for enjoyment. Does that sound like a very enjoyable scenario? One country has nuclear weapons aimed at the other country, and they say, as long as you behave yourself, we won't shoot you. We won't launch our weapons. But don't step out of line. So this is how we're trying to be happy. Man wants to get a beautiful woman so he can display his opulence to others. Just see, I have the best, most beautiful woman. But now that you have such a beautiful woman and you're displaying her, then others Others will be attracted. And then you have to defend. And it becomes a very difficult, tedious task. Hare Rama. Sorry for that. Continue.
Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Purport. By practice of yoga, one becomes gradually detached from material concepts. This is the primary characteristic of the yoga principle. And after this, one becomes situated in trance or samadhi, which means that the yogi realizes the supersoul through transcendental mind and intelligence, without any of the misgivings of identifying the self with the superself.
We've become conditioned for such a long time to think that this is the reality, this is all there is, this material world, and we have our 60 or 80 years to try to enjoy it, and that's it. That's what we're being taught. That enjoy life to the fullest. Don't worry about the future because there's no life after death. There's no reincarnation. There's no hell. There's no heaven. This is basically what we're thinking. So we think we can do anything, and it doesn't matter. There's no right, there's no wrong. It's very dangerous civilization. It needs to be counteracted. And fortunately, it's possible to do it. If one gets association with the devotees of Krishna, then it is possible. This movement of Lord Chaitanya is Krishna who appeared as a devotee to show the world how you can get out of the suffering of material existence here and now in the world by chanting, dancing, taking prasadam, discussing Krishna's pastimes, and giving it to others. That's the Sankirtan movement. And it's Kevala Ananda Kanda. It's a blissful process. It's very simple. It's very easy. And everything's included. If someone's an artist, he can remain an artist. If someone's a businessman, he can remain a businessman. Just use one's talents, one's interests, one's facilities in the service of Krishna. And then see the difference.
Yoga practice is more or less based on the principles of the Patanjali system. Some unauthorized commentators try to identify the individual soul with the supersoul, and the monists think this to be liberation, but they do not understand the real purpose of the Patanjali system of yoga.
We are not God, but we're part of God. We can never become God. That's not possible. Because we're parts of God, we have the same qualities of God in minute degree. And if we connect through yoga with Krishna, then we can experience full transcendental happiness with our spiritual senses. And if one understands Krishna fully, yasya anuganami harishe tadanam shanai, then he understands everything, because Krishna is the source of everything. Janma jasyata, everything emanates from him. Everything is maintained by him. Everything is controlled by him. Without understanding Krishna, we can't understand anything. We may be studying the earth, and we're digging, and we're analyzing, but we don't know where the earth comes from. We don't know what it's meant for. We don't know how to use everything in the proper way. For example, Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, Anat bhavati bhutani parjanyadana sambhava. He recommends the solution for economic problem is to grow grains. And to grow grains, we need rain. And to get rain, we need sacrifice. We have to please the Supreme Being and His assistance. If we do that, then there'll be sufficient rains, we'll grow grains, and the necessities of life will be solved. Life is not meant to try to accumulate more and more things for our sense gratification and then madly hoard them and protect them, and then when you die, then they're all left behind anyway. We don't own anything. It all belongs to God. Therefore, it's all meant to be used in His service. And if we do that, if we consider Manasa Deha Geha Jo Kichumora Arpilu Tu Apate Nandikishore. My Lord, this body, my mind, my home, my family, everything I have I offer to you for your service. That's Bhakti Yoga. That's the perfection of life.
But the monists do not accept this transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneness. Some unauthorized commentators try to identify the individual soul with the supersoul, and the monists think this to be liberation, but they do not understand the real purpose of the Patanjali system of yoga. There is an acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system, but the monists do not accept this transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneness.
Yeah, we can't. Sometimes people are interested in transcendental knowledge and they want to look to the East, and then they come to the idea of thinking that actually we're all God. So this is also Maya or illusion. It's called the last snare of Maya, or one thinks he becomes God by meditation. No, that's not possible. You can, not becoming God doesn't mean you're restricted, that you can't be happy. You can become unlimitedly happy in association with God or Krishna. Not by becoming Krishna, but by becoming His beloved servant and associate. Any questions so far on these points? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. What you just have stated, everything.
Pardon?
Everything that you have stated so far, especially about Krishna and Him is the control enjoyer. He also helps protect and guide us. And how to develop that faith? How can we
Associate
have
with
that?
the devotees. Associate with those who have faith. Just like, how do you develop faith that certain parts of a engine of a motor go here and there? Well, you work with someone who knows, and he says, here, take this out, you put this in here, this one goes like this, screw that, now start the engine, see it works. Then you have faith. It's not just theoretical, you don't just read it in a book. You may read it in a book, that's nice, but you associate and practice it. Try chanting. If you chant, you'll get faith in the chanting. If you hear and try to understand this knowledge, read Bhagavad-Gita, try to apply it, then you get faith. This works. This makes sense. My life is changing. Now I'm going the right direction. It's like if you're going the wrong direction on a road, you don't see any signs for the city you were looking for, the destination. You start to wonder why there's no signs. You stop and you look at the map, or you ask someone, where is such and such? They say you're going the wrong direction. And you turn around and go the right direction. That much we have to do. It's like a person who's fallen into a well. He's in a blind well, he can't get out by himself, and someone throws a rope down. All he has to do is hold on to the rope and he'll get pulled up. That much we have to do. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Yes?
Hare Krishna. My question actually is, I was asked a question by an 18-year-old yesterday. I had given him the book, Perfection of Yoga. He read it. He's my son's friend, and he read the book. He asked me several questions, which I answered a few. There was one I couldn't answer. He said, why do you think that Krishna consciousness, is it better than Christianity, or is it on the same level? Why do you think we should follow this over Christianity? And I
don't think what? What did you say? The last part?
So he said, why do you think we should follow Krishna consciousness over Christianity, or do you think it's better than Christianity? And that was one question I don't think I was able to answer.
Okay, what is Christianity then? Ask him. What will he say Christianity is?
I did not ask him.
Well, that's the point. So what is Christianity? Love of God. Isn't that what Jesus teaches?
Yeah.
That's what we're teaching. So it's the same.
So then why would we follow Krishna consciousness?
Are you in love of God now?
Yeah.
Then very good. If they have love of God through their process, That's good, but we have to see what are the symptoms of love of God. If someone claims to have love of God, but it looks more like he has love of dog and love of cigarettes and love of drinking and love of illicit sex and meat eating, it becomes questionable whether or not that's love of God. And what is God? When we speak of love of God, who are we talking about loving? So it's not just a rubber stamp that because I belong to a particular religion or some faith, that means I'm okay. We have to practice. Have to put it into practice and get the real result. The symptoms of love of God are that one is kind to everyone, does not quarrel with anyone, he's clean inside and outside, he's gentle. So many good qualities. He's compassionate, he's learned, he's fixed in the absolute truth, he's always engaged in the service of the Lord. These are the qualities. So if one actually has love of God, then there's no contradiction. Any system, if you can get there, but this is a system that has been working since time immemorial. So, if you have a system and you've developed love of God, then that's very good, and we're partners on the path. Is that right? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, you can read.
The duality of knowledge and knower is not accepted by the non-dualist, but in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted. And this is corroborated by the Patanjali Muni.
So the desire to have pleasure is natural, it's good. But how to get that pleasure? We want unlimited spirit. We don't just want pleasure for a few seconds. If someone says, you want pleasure? I think this happens a lot. They have some drug and they say you get pleasure. How long does it last? Well, it lasts 2 hours or something. And then there's so many bad effects. What kind of pleasure is that? Temporary with bad effects. Why not eternal with no bad effects, only good effects? That means it has to be spiritual and it has to be pure.
The famous exponent of the Yoga system. The great sage declares in his Yoga Sutras, Purushartha Shunyanam Gunanam Pratiprasavaha Kaivalyam Sarupa Pratishta Va Chitti Shaktirti. This Chitti Shakti, or internal potency, is transcendental. Purushartha means material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, the attempt to become one with the Supreme.
We want pleasure. Does anyone want to die? No one wants to die. Why? Because there'll be no more pleasure. So how can you be happy if you have to die? First problem to overcome. That can really ruin your day. So what are you going to do about solving the problem of death? The solution is that to understand that the soul never dies. The soul is part and parcel of Krishna. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vididati Kaman. As Krishna is eternal, so the living entities are eternal. And as He's unlimitedly happy, always in ecstasy, Anandamoya Abhyasa, so the living entities in their natural condition are fully blissful. That's on the spiritual world. So we need to become aware that there's an alternative to this rat race, material existence. We shouldn't just accept that this is all there is, because this is what I've been taught and this is what everybody's doing. I'm just following along blindly. The blind leading the blind, and everyone falls into the ditch. We need to follow someone that can see, that knows where we're going, how to get back. Om Tat Vishnu Paramam Param Sara Pasyanti Yam Surya. Who wants to go back to the spiritual world? That's where we should direct ourselves. And it can be done in this lifetime. It's not that we have to die or give up the body to experience transcendental pleasure. We can experience it even now.
This oneness with the Supreme is called Kaivalyam by the monist. But according to Patanjali, this Kaivalyam is an internal or transcendental potency by which the living entity becomes aware of his constitutional position. In the words of Lord Chaitanya, this state of affairs is called Chaito Darpana Marjanam.
That means, the cleansing of the heart, of all the dirty things in the heart. We need to do that. We need to clean our hearts from lust, from greed, from anger, from illusion, from madness. How do we get these things away from our heart? By chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It works. It takes away these unclean things from the heart. And the more one chants, the more the heart becomes purified.
This clearance is actually liberation, or Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. The theory of nirvana, also preliminary, corresponds with this principle. In the Bhagavatam, this is called Sarupena Vyavastiti. The Bhagavad-Gita also confirms this situation in this verse. After nirvana, or material cessation, there is the manifestation of spiritual activities or devotional service of the Lord, known as Krishna consciousness.
Yes, these activities are described in Bhagavad-Gita, Susukam Kartam Avayam. The activities of Krishna consciousness, even cleaning the floor, cleaning the pots, mowing the grass, distributing literature, chanting, this is all blissful. It's pleasure. It's not like ordinary material activities you have to be paid for. If someone says, would you like to mow my grass for me? You say, how much you pay me? No, just do it for pleasure. No, thank you. But mowing Krishna's grass or cleaning the temple for Krishna or chanting for Krishna, these things are pleasure. Because they're connected with Krishna, and everything connected with Krishna is of the same quality. Anandamaya, unlimited bliss. Thank you very much. Now we're going to have Arti ceremony.